I don't like doing this. It drives me nuts when we do this. But I said a lot of things. You respond a lot of things. Welcome on into second and short. This is our next part 2. Re-recording this. This is a Mosaic MC Productions, Mosaic Media Communications. You can check us out on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and everywhere you get podcasts as well. As on top of that, you can listen to us and see our opinions and answer some polls and tweets over on Twitter, where our co-host here, Jason Teasley, takes the lead on that. Now, today we're talking quarterbacks. Now we're going to kind of do what a lot of people do. We're going to talk about the, position by position each week, but we're going to go into a little different vibe with it, like almost like some end of the season superlatives that we think are going to happen, the most likely to, and that's what we're going to go with today. So we're going to talk quarterbacks, right, Jason? So talk about quarterbacks for a second. Like, what do we got planned?
Oh, well, we're going to be talking about who we're going to be finishing at QB1, which we have a dark horse that doesn't really get talked about. We're going to be talking about our projected rookie of the year at quarterback, and most notably a quarterback that people are liking right now that I'm going to tell you to avoid.
And with all that being said, let's go ahead and jump right in. So you said QB1, dark horse, Justin Herbert, who you're talking about, finishes a QB2 in a lot of formats last year. Talked about this, 2.1 points less than Josh Allen per game that separated him from being number one. But he's not getting talked about like Josh Allen, Rodgers, Brady, Mahomes, because he's not the passer they are. And he's not the runner of all the scrambling quarterbacks that can get you yards on the ground. But why do you believe that he can finish as the QB1 after this year?
And this is a team that arguably has the best defense in the division, as we've talked about.
Yes.
And he's got insane weapons. Mike Williams, Keenan Allen, Eckler. They brought Spiller in. And there's a lot of even lesser known wide receivers that are factoring in as well. They brought in a second tight end in Everett. And, this is a team that is in a division that's going to be the Wild West. It's going to be shootouts week to week when they go up. We talked about in version 1, you talked about the defensive secondary not being having the gaps that quarterbacks like to see and not being so sheared up that, quarterbacks shy away from it. And I think this is the opportunity for Herbert to take that step up to being a household name and being in the conversations, because a lot of the name value gets taken over Herbert when you just said it, he's about 2.1 points behind Josh Allen, who is arguably everybody's QB1 coming off the board.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Herbert's getting drafted anywhere between like QB3 and QB6 in a lot of startups right now. And I don't think there's a situation where like he's like I don't think he's one of those guys that like, oh, this is like a huge surprise and everything. Like he's gonna finish in the range of top 5 QBs, but I don't see a lot of places where people are like dying for him to be the QB1 after the end of the year. But I do agree he will. He is the best defense in that division, hands down. I don't care what anybody else says. I know other teams have like Denver historically has good defense. The Raiders have had good pass rush in the past, but that's not really there. And with the safety change for the Chiefs, I don't know how that's going to play out as like a leadership role. Losing Matthew, I think is a major thing that nobody's really diving into from a leadership aspect. And I think Herbert's going to expose them. I mean, Keenan Allen is still playing lights out. Mike Williams is a touchdown machine. Josh Palmer drafted from last year looks to be taking another step up. Isaiah Spiller behind Eckler is a nice move. And then bringing in Gerald Everett, a big move. For me, I think the biggest move is drafting Zion Johnson to start at guard. I think that's the biggest move to help Herbert push forward. I think he potentially is like the best guard out of this draft, even comparable with Evan Neal. Yeah, Herbert, QB1. I don't hate it. Let's lock it up for you. Now let's talk about the opposite, okay? Quarterback that is getting drafted between QB1 and QB10 that I think is going to fall to the top 15, Deshaun Watson. I don't trust taking Deshaun Watson. Last year, I traded him away for a single first. one of those situations where like I either keep him and I can triple his value in a double quarterback league, or I keep him and his value drops to 0. Just take the first and run. And I don't even care if the next guy gets 4 first-round picks for him. I don't care. I got out because I don't know if he's going to play this year. He didn't play last year. I don't know if he's going to play this year. That's going to make him 2 years, maybe 3 years removed by the time he starts becoming relevant. He just had another allegation put up against him. And his base salary is like, what, $1 million this year because the Browns are predicting that a suspension is going to happen. So I don't think he's going to finish in the top 15. If his suspension happens for 5-6 games, he's definitely not finishing in the top 15.
I think that's a huge telltale sign that the Browns are actually still hanging on to Mayfield, even though they've got a lot of interest from other teams, that they're not willing to let him go because they're expecting that to come. Now, Watson, you take somebody with his caliber 2 years away from football, that's going to impact. You got a lot of rush. You got to come in and get back into playing shape. We don't know. We haven't seen any reports if he's keeping his conditioning up, if he's doing any kind of workouts, or he's getting massages, anything. But yeah, I mean, we don't know what kind of physical shape he's in. And, being away from football for possibly 2 years also has a mental aspect, because in 2 years, the game changes drastically.
Yeah. I think the skill set is there. I just don't know if he's going to play. The Browns are a very run-heavy team, but we're all still acting like Deshaun Watson is going to transcend this team into like a new play style. Like, no, they're going to run the ball. Like, they've got a lot of stuff tied up to Chubb and Hunt and the offensive line that they have no reason to not run the ball. This team could easily be a 50-50 split on rush pass. And just with that, I don't think this isn't Watson on the Texans where they throw all the time, because what else are you going to do? Give it to David Johnson? So, yeah, that's where I'm at. I think he has the best chance of those top 10 to fall out of the top 15. Now, let's talk rookie quarterbacks. Who is the rookie quarterback do you think will be the rookie QB of the year? Not necessarily like rookie of the year, because I think that's going to go to like a receiver or a running back. But of all the rookies drafted, who has the best chance to finish as the highest rookie at the end of the year?
I think this is a pretty much chalk pick here, and
should be.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be Pickett. I think he has the easiest path starting week 1.
Yes.
He's got the talent around him with a nice receiving core, top running back behind him. I mean, he's got all the tools there to succeed.
Yes.
And again, it's the easiest path to start week 1. Trubisky is a serviceable quarterback, but is he a starting quarterback still yet? I don't believe that. I think that they took him as a more of a mentor role to bring Pickett along through OTAs and everything and get him ready for week 1. So I think this is probably the easiest pick that I've had.
And of this group, I mean, you're probably right. But then again, we're looking at like, is Mitch Trubisky worse than Sam Darnold and Marcus Mariota? Like Ryan Tannehill and Malik Willis situation. Malik Willis might be the easiest one to push out, but ultimately, whoever does get the start, it is going to be interesting to see who's going to take over first. I do think Pickett being drafted in the first round helps him be the most likely to start, but we also have to remember that Matt Rule in Carolina is desperate to keep his job, and he's already benched Sam Darnold before, so he might do it again. But you're right. Kenny Pickett, if we're talking about everything, has the best wide receiver / running back group of all the rookie quarterbacks. Even though I think Corral has a better running back, overall, the wide receiver room in Carolina is nothing compared to the receiver room in Pittsburgh, who we're talking about has Deontay Johnson. They have Chase Claypool. They have Pat Freiermuth. And then they go out and they get George Pickens and Calvin Austin III on top of all the depth they already have. And then Najee Harris back there. It's just everything can be set up for success for him really right away. Only thing is that when you play in the NFL in these cold weather situations, I wonder how it hits these rookies a little bit more. Granted, he played in Pittsburgh, so it's like he's not unfamiliar with it, but you just wonder at that next level when you're getting hit by guys that can hit you twice as hard and are twice as fast, and they're just like they're twice as strong and they're better at every capacity. How quickly do you get up? Yeah, but I mean, this is probably an easy chalk pick because he should have the fastest path to starting based on draft capital alone. Now, let's talk about a QB. I scratched up myself. All right. A QB that is 20 or lower that I think has the best chance to finish as a QB1 this year, top 12. I have Carson Wentz for the Commanders. We've talked about Carson Wentz a lot this offseason. I think we are zagging while everybody else is zigging on Carson Wentz. Maybe there are others out there. I don't hear it. I barely hear it. But I think Carson Wentz, who finished his QB 13 last year in Indy with Michael Pittman as his number one and handing the ball off to Jonathan Taylor most of the time, still finishes QB 13. Didn't turn the ball over a lot. I think it was like 27 and like 10 or 9 or something. He was pretty much, I think he was like 3-1 almost on touchdown interception ratio.
Yeah.
And now he goes to a Washington team that, has it's a downgrade at running back. Gibson is a downgrade, but I think McKissick and Nyheim Hines are probably the same. So you're going to have the same type of second running back that's a pass catcher.
Yeah.
But his overall receiving room, I think, is better. I mean, he has Logan Thomas at tight end. That's an upgrade. I would say Terry McLaurin is better for me than Michael Pittman. And then on top of that, they just drafted Jahan Dotson. Oh, yeah, Curtis Samuel is supposed to be better, and he's only 25. And I think Curtis Samuel being healthy, they also have Dominique Brown. Like, this team has more weapons, I think, for Wentz, and they have the easiest strength of schedule all season as well.
Yeah, they play in a division that I'm very familiar with that doesn't have a great defense as of late, the past few years. The NFC East.
No lockdown.
Yeah. I mean, the Giants added a nice defensive back, but there's nobody that jumps out that's a secondary that I'm scared of. And I think Wentz is a solid pick here. A lot of people are sleeping on him, and like you said, we like to zig when everybody else zags. So I'm all on board on this.
So the thing is, he's getting selected as like the 27th quarterback off the board. So he's not even getting drafted as like your number 2 quarterback for your team. And I think an easy prediction is that he will finish as a QB2. That's easy. He's getting drafted as number 27. I get it, it's Dynasty, but he's still like 27, 28 years old. Like, he's not old, and he's still a starter. If we think about this, a guy that is like, oh, he's getting traded around the league and getting handed off. Well, he's now starting for his 3rd franchise. So it's not like he's bouncing around as a backup. Like, he's getting traded for as a starter. And he goes to a place with an easier division, an upgrade. I mean, slightly easier division. Then AFC South is pretty weak, but still. The Colts offensive line isn't as great as like we think it is overall. Like there, it just looks good because Taylor creates so much offense. But his offensive line is probably a push. I think he has a fantastic coach in Ron Rivera, and the defense in Washington, I think, had an anomaly of a year last year, and I think they'll get back to like top 12 standards that they had 2 years ago, which will help Carson Wentz as well. If somebody like Chase Young is healthy and playing the whole year. I think Carson Wentz has a big chance to be QB1 this year that nobody's going to see coming at all. Now, let's go the opposite. Who is a QB that you're just avoiding? Doesn't matter where they're getting drafted. You're just like, I don't want to touch him this year in dynasty startups. Let me avoid him.
This one's somebody that a lot of people are high on simply because of his running ability, but I'm avoiding Jalen Hurts. Don't get me wrong, he's got the talent there, but I just think that his aptitude to run when he should be throwing, and he's got a run-first mentality when the play breaks down rather than trying to extend a play to make the throw. He wants to tuck and run. I think that's going to be his downside, and I think it's going to lead to a lot of possible injuries and a lot of possible forced throws that lead to turnovers. And I just don't trust him enough to want him on my team and be trying to figure out if he's going to have a good game or he's going to be down this week.
Yeah, and I think that's fair. I actually just traded for him in a league. that I desperately need quarterbacks for. But I see what you're saying. I do think the injury concerns can happen there. The uncertainty of that we're always getting kind of told that, you know, the Eagles have these draft picks next year and they might draft a quarterback and everything. And if they don't work out, but Hurts did get them to the playoffs. I think they have a good chance of getting to the playoffs again, potentially. Um, he is a very tricky guy right now. I think Jalen Hurts is a perfect guy to get another guy. He's the example that I gave in our lost episode that I said I'm starting to work on strategies where I get a guy to get a guy because it's so much easier to sell. Like if I want to buy a quarterback, it's easier to buy a lower tier quarterback and then offer that quarterback in a deal because everybody wants a quarterback in multi quarterback leagues. Yeah, I don't hate this. I think there's an opportunity here for Jalen Hurts to actually finish as like a top 5 quarterback, but there are red flags. There is risk. He's getting drafted as like the QB like 8 or 9 right now. And he's getting drafted right around the range of guys like Dak Prescott and Russell Wilson that I think are safer. That'll probably finish in their range. Yeah, the rushing upside is nice and it will draw you in. But I don't think as a guy that's getting drafted as high as he is, he's not really getting valued like that, at least in my opinion. Like him and Dak are drafted 1 or 2 QB spots apart, and I feel like Dak costs way more to acquire right now. So like Jalen Hurts could be a guy that, you know, don't draft him as the QB 8 or 9, go trade for him because he's cheaper to acquire that way and use that draft capital for somebody else. Now, last subject here, quarterback surprise. Now, this kind of could be Carson Wentz, me saying that, but like, it's just a quarterback 2 that I think is going to break into quarterback. This is a guy that I think nobody's really looking at as like their number 1 quarterback on their team. Nobody's looking at it as maybe even like their number 2. I see the people getting him as like their number 3 and they're just like holding him. And he's not really getting the respect I think he should get. And that's quarterback Jameis Winston for the New Orleans Saints. A couple of years ago, we're talking about a guy that threw 30 plus touchdowns, threw 5,000 yards. And then he goes off and everybody's like, well, he threw 30 interceptions. Okay, well, he just had LASIK eye surgery. Now we can actually see his players. He's good to go. Well, I don't know. I don't know if he just had surgery. He fixed his ACL, you know, after he tore it. It's fixed. He fixed his other knee. He's still a bulky guy. Last time I checked, the Saints are still a playoff team with a competent quarterback. Like, really, that's the only, if he doesn't get hurt last year, I believe the Saints probably make the playoffs. Like, I think they have a good defense. They have nice weapons everywhere. We don't know what's going to happen with Kamara. The suspension probably comes next year. But he has options like Alvin Kamara to dump it off to. Michael Thomas is going to be coming in the back swing of things. They just signed Jarvis Landry, who's Mr. Reliable from 10 under, and they went on and got Chris Olave as well. This Saints team really improved. Just getting Landry and Olave improves tremendously. The offensive line, they went instead of having Armstead, who I've seen people go, oh man, they downgraded. Now they have Penning, a rookie that's going to be playing for him. Yeah, but that rookie's going to play all 17 games where Armstead's going to play like 5. So for me, that's a win. And because they went that route, they were able to get Landry. And I just think having Michael Thomas, Landry, and Olave is so beneficial. And then we're not even talking about guys like Traquan Smith or Callaway, who are just boomers down the sideline that are going to have those opportunities to just get him a 50-yard touchdown out of nowhere because everybody's so worried about these, you know, these intermediate underneath routes that these better receivers do.
Yeah, and even if you take Thomas out of that equation, it's still a good wide receiver core because you slide, you know, like Traquan Smith into that position, and it gives you that, like you said, that stretch field because Winston has a cannon of an arm, so he can sling the ball down the field. So I don't hate this. The ACL does concern me because, you know, mobility wise, but, you know, we've seen Tom Brady succeed and he's not mobile at all, but he can sit in the pocket. I think if Winston adapts that kind of pocket presence, that he could be a very successful quarterback after the ACL. But like I said, I mean, he's got a good, strong wide receiving core. He's got a defense that he's not going to have to play from behind. He's got wide receivers that can run the intermediate routes, and their yards after catch can pad his stats. So I don't hate this pick. I actually like it a lot. Once we peel back the layers and looking at the talent that he has surrounding him and looking how he is set up for success.
If you're in a startup right now and you're feeling really risky, like you could legitimately take your first round pick and second round pick and just like trade down, like trade your first round pick for like a third round pick. Let's your third round pick, an eighth round pick, and like a future first round pick. You could do that right now. Everybody would accept that really wants to move up and get their guy. And then you could trade your second down, get a fourth round pick, another eighth round pick, and probably another first round pick next year. And then you can have those first round picks set up. And then your first 5-6 picks, you just take running back, receiver, running back, receiver, running back, receiver. And then you go out and you get Jameis Winston at the 25th quarterback drafted, Carson Wentz as the 27th quarterback drafted. And these guys, if they do what I'm saying they're going to do, they're really going to help you win this year. But if they don't and they fall through, you have those extra 23 picks. So I think that's the situation. Like if you're in startups right now, take a huge risk, trade down, try and get these quarterbacks drafted in like the 20s that you think have high upside for this next year or more, and then gain first round picks as well as a backup plan. That's contingency. And I think that's a much safer route to go than to take, you're probably right, than taking like Jalen Hurts in the second round of a super flex. You could probably trade down in the second round and you probably can get Carson Wentz in like the 5th or 6th plus on top of that. And I think that's the smart route to go as well. And this has been our quarterback show. That's it for us here on Second and Short, Cheap Seat, Mosaic MC. A lot of names. Again, subscribe, like, follow, listen everywhere. And next week, Jason, what are we going to be talking about?
We'll be talking about running backs next week. And this is going to be a very lovely conversation because I have a feeling that me and you are going to have a lot of differing opinions.
Yes, this I think as we keep going, these are going to get more different and we're not going to be in the same page, which is okay. And that's good. We bring you guys different stuff from different angles. I am Tyler Lauder. He's Jason Teasley. Follow us everywhere. We'll see you guys next week when we discuss running backs and our predictions. Get out there and start trading.